Welcome back, guys. Going into the final hour here of episode 50 of RollPlay Swan Song. Adam, what's up?
Well, crystals. Okay. So you've entered into this cave, and it's on the outset, sort of these sandstone walls and ceiling and floor, and like you're in a stone box somewhere deep under the surface of Kamna. But it's shot through with these sort of milky spires of crystal. And when you step into the room, Kia drops to her knees with this like horrible, perfect tone like ringing through your ears. And like Kia, you've heard this tone before. You've heard this sound. It underlies the words of the prophet. It rings through the signal in every time you've ever heard it. But it's purer and clearer now than you've ever heard it before. And it's like it drove you to your knees, not in pain, but in like rapture, I think. It doesn't feel good, but it's like the sound has filled you so completely that you kind of like lost control of your body. And Eric, you're the closest to Kia when she tumbles to her knees. What do you do?
Yeah, I think like I grab her and I try to talk to her when it's clear like she's not responding to me or she's like hearing something that's not there or whatever. I kind of look to Alfarius and Higgs and I say, "Stand back." And then I open my brain to the psychic maelstrom.
Okay. So what do you want to do?
I'm accessing my meta psionics, and I'll tell you exactly which power I'm activating.
Okay.
Oh shit.
Yeah, there we go. I guess I am trying to extend a psionic static field over Kia.
Okay. All right. Cool. You don't have to roll, right? You just spend the points.
Yep.
All right. So Kia, Eric steps behind you, and do you touch her, Eric? Like, what does this look like?
Yeah. Like I guess I've got like my hands on her shoulders, and I'm like, Kia, I need you to stay with me, Kia. And then I look at them and I say, "Step back," and then I just like close my eyes and. I mean, probably like you two can feel it prickling on your skin as well if you're close enough, and it's just like it's an aura of energy that just dampens the active. It dampens the effective effort of psychics, so that activating.
Yeah, I think from like a cinematic perspective, we see the whole scene, and it's like shot on like really high ISO film, so it's kind of grainy. But then there's like a sharpening effect that goes around the two of you. So like on the outside, Alfarius and Higgs still have this kind of like 6,000 ISO like grain on them, but there's this bubble of clarity. And for a second, Kia, just as Eric steps over to you and the bubble envelops you, you hear like a sing-song kind of like group of children's voices, and it's in Mandarin, but somehow you understand it, and they're shouting like psychic girl, and you feel like hot like blood like dripping off your forehead, and you see a stone on the ground. And you turn and you can see these like dark kind of industrial spires. And we've seen this place before, like viewers of Swan Song has seen. It's obviously Majid. And you like look up and there's a bunch of like kind of tough looking like preteen like boys and girls like making fun of you. They're standing around in a group and like threatening you. And then they fade and you see Eric standing there with his hand out to you.
So without metagame, I actually probably know that Piani is from Michigan.
Listen, at this point, man, the metagame is just out the fucking window, so it's cool.
We all know what's going on here.
I mean, or none of us do.
And with the tone, along with a vision that I know is not mine, but could be related to Piani, I think I actually, I probably yell, even though Eric is right behind me.
Yeah.
I say, Eric, the prophet is speaking. I'm seeing vision. We must continue. Just please.
Yes, of course. Let's go. What do we see in here once we look beyond the entrance?
It's
Is
like
it just crystals?
it's a forest of interlocking crystals. Like you could start to like climb up and disappear into this stalagmite mess.
Yeah. I guess I look at Kia and I say, Kia, I need you and me. We need to go in there. Probably 20 meters if we can. That should be enough. Alfarius, Higgs, you can come with us if you'd like, but you should probably stay 10 meters away. I don't know.
I just like put my hand out. Like I'm pretty much incapacitated by all of this, so that's like your cue. Like I'm accepting.
If the Piebots have flashlights slung under their rifles, can I just like unclip one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I unclip a flashlight and I bring it with me.
Okay.
I should think about this earlier. Okay. Yeah, I just start climbing through the crystals, and I guess it's pretty hot and like moist down in here.
Yeah, and they're dripping, and
Yeah, there's like a beam of steam through the air as we're shining this flashlight through. So yeah, we just climb back in there.
So Higgs and Alfarius, are you going to go along, or are you staying behind?
Well, when he says like 10 meters or whatever, I just look over at Alfarius to see like what he's doing or how he takes that.
I follow probably exactly 10 meters.
Yeah. Okay. I just kind of like, because he probably has the exact value in 10 meters where I'm just guesstimating, so I just wait and follow him.
And follow Alfarius? Okay.
Yeah. And then I put 2 Piebots at the entrance into this area.
Okay. All right. So I think that initially it's not too hard to keep an eye on them and to follow them. But as you get deeper, the crystals start to interlock in strange ways and reflect the light, so that when the beam of light goes forward, it's actually illuminating something off at a 45-degree angle. And you're having to like turn to like get around them. And this enforced distance feels like it's getting like longer as you move through the strange chamber. And I guess I need Alfarius, because you're kind of like leading the way. Can you make a perception check for me? I just want to see if you can stay on Eric and Kia's trail.
No.
All right. So I think at some point you kind of get turned around and like Higgs, you're following Alfarius, and you realize at some point that you hear above the dripping of water and the occasional sounds of footsteps and like some of the like kind of whisper sounding like servos from Alfarius' cybernetics, you hear a creaking sound. The first time you hear it, first couple of times you hear it, you don't really recognize what it is, but you definitely hear it. Then you realize it's the sound of like a wheelchair, like a squeaky wheelchair wheel turning.
Okay. I just keep it to myself. I don't.
Yeah. And you can hear it. It's as if someone is behind you, just like pushing a wheelchair that happens to be like squeaking as you're moving through this kind of like field. And then Alfarius, you've been following like a silhouette, which you assume was Eric or Kia. And when you come around a column of crystal, you come face to face basically with your own reflection in the side of one of these crystals, and you don't see Kia or Eric anywhere. Like
there's still a path and stuff.
Yeah, and like you look around, and the light reflects in all kinds of strange ways, and you just don't see them anywhere. And I think that as you pass the light, like you're seeing yourself kind of like a funhouse mirror, like yourself normal and like shorter and taller and kind of warped. One of those reflections, and I don't know, it's up to you if Alfarius notices this, but the audience's camera does. One of those reflections is Mr. Sicari. Like he's just standing there, reflected back at you in his suit, holding his thunder gun as you pass over him. Does Alfarius notice that?
Or rattled. No, he doesn't see it.
Okay. All right. So you're separated. We cut over to Eric and Kia.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I was just gonna say, like Eric, like after some time of crawling through this stuff, and like sometimes he's having to like crawl head and shoulders through a gap in the crystals, and sometimes he's walking through like huge crystal chambers, and finally after probably 5 or 10 minutes of climbing over stuff, really just traveling like 50 meters back in here or whatever. Finally he stops and he turns to Kia and says, "Okay, I think we're far enough. This is fascinating." And then he sets down his backpack and he opens it and he starts pulling out like some contraption, and it's some sort of, strange machine with cables running every which way and some sort of like Arduino computer, calculatrix down in the center of it. And then he just starts like, it's got like bundles of copper wire with like those little like suction pad things that you stick on skin. And like, I sort of like, I'm holding them in my hands and I look at Kia and I say, "Are you ready for this?"
I mean, I think pretty much Kia is like full on again, just kind of like sort of out of it and repeating verses, and it just sort of gives you a nod.
Yeah. Okay. So Eric sort of pauses for a second and he says, "Kia, where I'm going, you're coming with me. You understand that, right?"
Still speaking really loudly, like, "It is the chosen path."
Okay. Sounds good. And then like, I guess I just like affix like 4 suction cups to Kia's forehead. And then like, I take a couple of other wires from the contraption that I've built, and I stretch them across the room, and I like attach them like suction cups to like the crystals that are nearby. And it's like I'm making like really clear divisions and clean angles with all of these things. Like when you look at it from above, and maybe I've even got like a schematic next to it. I've like got like angles drawn out and like in a 3D space of like all of the angles at which all of these wires need to be suspended from each other. And then I pop on like the 4 on my own forehead, and I sit down in front of it, and like my thumb hovers over the button, and then I say, "Oh, hang on." And I reach in my back pocket and I pull out a single small crystal that we got from the room, Kia's room. And I just kind of like, I kind of like kiss it. And I put it on top of the machine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you want to activate your improvised SciTech device. What's your intent here?
Well, I'm guessing like, maybe I need to make a SciTech roll for this or something, but it's supposed to be a device that allows me to extend more of my metapsionic influence into Kia and into this crystal matrix so that I can basically like subdivide the universe's psionic quantum state and begin using Kia's mental signature to search for Piani's mental signature.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously. So,
Clearly.
okay. Yeah, clearly. Just basic stuff.
Yeah.
TL2 equipment here.
Pretty simple.
So I think that your thumb like hovers over the on-off switch. Maybe it's one of those little like silver like toggles.
Yeah.
And you look over at Kia, and yeah, Kia, you've got these like things stuck in your head. Maybe, are you like you're praying like silently?
Yeah. Not really silently, but yeah.
Loudly.
Right.
So before Eric's thumb comes down on the trigger, I think that you both hear just quietly, like you hear the words, "Are you ready?" And like it echoes from somewhere, and then you flip the switch. Can you make a SciTech roll for me?
Okay, here we go. Am I getting an assist from Piani?
No assist. Just make the roll.
Double fucking.
Oh my god! All right.
Great.
So here's what happened.
All right.
It's the perfect time for your roll double ones. Thank you so much.
God.
Oh, I love you, Steven. So here's what happened. So you look at the two of you share a moment.
And I called that too.
You flip the switch, and we like snap to darkness, and we see I think we see like Higgs and Alfarius, and the two of you like everything starts to shake all of a sudden, and maybe that crystal that we saw, like we see Alfarius from the front and Mr. Sicarian in the crystal behind you. The crystal like cracks suddenly, then Alfarius, you turn at the sound, then all the crystals start to break and pieces start to fall. What do the two of you do? Like this place is collapsing for sure.
I grab Higgins by the shoulder and rush him towards where we came in. Like we're running the opposite way now.
I just
the
start
two of you are
screaming.
gonna try to escape. Okay.
Yeah, I just start screaming. I'm like, no, we're not done here. We gotta
I think
wait.
if you like resist me, I think I literally turn around and like slap you a little.
Like
We
drag
gotta
it
wait. We gotta wait.
out. Awesome. Yeah, so you're like shouting and like pulling against Alfarius as he drags you out. I think that we fade out to the temple itself, and we see the stone spires starting to collapse. There are like sinkholes appearing like in the planet's surface, so the water is starting to pour into them. Trees and stone statuary are like collapsing into these holes. And as we continue to zoom out, we see the planet itself, and there's like a moment of like where the camera kind of hangs in space. There's like this absolute silence of the vacuum. Then there's a bright flash, and we see Kamna like crack, and this pulse of light emits in all directions from the planet, and then the planet starts to break apart. Like its core spouting fire into space as the planet breaks, and we zoom out further to the system, and we see that the ripple starts to like break apart the other planets. The sun like folds in on itself and starts to like pull the other planets in, and we get scenes I think like snapped from like place to place of like we see Cabral and it's like towers crumbling and people like screaming and running around. We snap to Anaximander, to the university, and we see that plaza with the statue from Piani's dream as the statue like tumbles. As all this like chaos is happening, we see a bunch of different places kind of like from the show as we've seen it. We see the room that we saw at the end of the last episode. So there's like the face of the War Mind. There's the Hovaden Panopticon Matrix and La Fantôme. And the three of them are sitting, and La Fantôme has like a teacup in her hand, and she shakes her head, and she's like, she says to the War Mind, she's like, "They've done your job for you, brother." And he says, "Pity, so much blood left to spill," before things start to like crackle and go dark. And there's like a good long, like if you were in the theater, you would wonder if the movie was over kind of silence. You're like, do we get up? Are they going to turn the lights on? Should we leave? Or... And then we hear a voice, and it's a familiar voice. Like it's a man's voice, sort of young, a little weird, and he says, "Eric, Kia, wake up." And a light comes on in the darkness, and we see Victor Kovacs standing there in his flight gear, just like in a pool of light in the dark. And Eric and Kia, you're both there. You're like on your knee. Kia, you're still on your knees. Eric, you're like reaching for her as if time sort of stopped. And as the lights sort of come up on the stage, we hear the howling of snow blown through wind, kind of like floating through this, as if there was a street light above you, but there's no source of light. And Kia, you're like kneeling in a snowdrift. And Eric, I think you recognize this place as somewhere you went like tobogganing as a child or something. Like,
Yeah.
You definitely recognize this place. And and Victor looks down at the two of you. And Kia, you know this man. Like, you've never seen him in your dreams before, but you recognize him. There's something familiar about him. And and once the two of you kind of like awaken, I guess, you look up at him, and he kind of like tilts his head at you, Eric, and he's like, "We didn't expect you."
I think something went wrong.
He laughs and he nods. He's like, "It did, but things have been going wrong for some time now."
It does seem that way.
And he turns, and you realize, as if it was this way all along, you realize that you are standing at the bottom of a very tall hill. And there are cloaked figures like all around you at the edges of a long stone path. And the path leads up, and as the camera pans up this gray stone path, we see a gnarled dead tree with a single length of rope hanging from it and a body kind of like tilting back and forth in the wind, and below it a short sort of stump of stone, a well, and Victor says, he says, well, you tried, I suppose.
Yeah.
What were you trying to do, Eric?
Well, you see, Gordon seemed to have it all laid out pretty cleanly. It should have worked. I guess it seems like Václav was closer to the truth.
Truth is a funny thing. I mean, I understand it as well as you do. I'm a scientist too. We all are. And he gestures to the like strange like bird creatures that are kind of like shuffling Jim Henson-esque in the background.
The Skeksis.
Yeah, they have this kind of like heavy like weightlessness to them, and they kind of like shuffle and like grind their chainsaw teeth together in nervous anticipation. And Victor walks over to you, Kia, and you're down on your knees, and he kneels down and looks at you, and he says, and you realize when he speaks, you can't hear the sound anymore, but that his voice sounds so familiar to you. Like there's some tenor to it that feels like you've heard it before. And he says, you've made such a sacrifice. Both of you have. Would you like to meet her? And like puts his hand out to you.
Who's her?
Yeah.
And he looks at you like you should already know the answer to this question. Like,
Oh.
I think I stand up.
okay. So you stand up and you start to walk up the long kind of like curved stairway. And as you do, the Shindel that are assembled in mass around the pathway, some of them reach out and touch you with their like 3-fingered multi-segmented hands. Some of them kind of like glower at you in the dark. And Victor explains as you walk, he says, the seeds for this tree were planted such a long time ago. Those were bad times for us, bad times for all of us. And as you walk up the stairs, you can see the sky, which was at first, and you're certain like these changes happen incongruously. Like it's like noticing that something was there in the room that was always there, right? And when you look up, the sky isn't dark, it's not star-filled. You see the earth, like actual earth. Like we as viewers would recognize, like we see like Africa and like the moon and stuff. And it's like this sort of Neil Armstrong photos from the moon, kind of like we recognize this pale blue dot. And he says, when we realized that the war was ending, we sent messengers. Typical short-sightedness that you couldn't hear the message. Took such a long time. Genetics. That was the secret. Some people, and he kind of like looks over Yukia, and he's like, some people more receptive to the message than others. You've done such a fantastic job listening, though. And he like smiles at you, kind of beatifically, Kia. And all this is as you're walking up these like long, kind of like jagged, broken stairs. Do you say anything? Or do you
I think I like the first question that comes to my head is, are you the new prophet?
He laughs and he says, no, girl, I'm not. But your prophet is a listener, like you are. Sharp ears, that one. There are others, like him, like you, in the sector. If only there was a way for us to be clearer, but well, we worked with the tools that we had. And now you're interpreting our teachings as best you can. But we've made a mistake. And I think that when he says that, the earth becomes Andoni, and Andoni is burning, and like we can hear kind of in the underlayer of the audio the like screaming and buildings collapsing and like that kind of thing. And Victor says, there was a conflict, a disagreement among us about how to proceed. Things were let out. We couldn't put them back in. And so we did what we could to adjust, to make good. You may not understand. And he looks at you, Eric, as you approach the ragged tree. He says, you may not understand what we're trying to do, but it's all for the best. For you, for all of you. We're just trying to protect you, you see. And there's this faint kind of like susurrus of like feathers ruffling throughout the crowd, as if in agreement. And I think that you get to the sort of the pinnacle, the top of this this mound, and you see Piani, and she's dressed in a long like white gown, and hanging by her wrists from a long length of rope. There's blood running down one side of her face. And there's this deep black well of stone in front of her. And and Victor says, we tried to put it in terms that you might understand, but there's just so much noise, so many messages that don't work together. I hope you've understood what we've tried to do. And he turns to you, Kia, but you know he's speaking as much to you as he is to Piani. And I think Piani, you hear, still both hanging from the tree and standing on that lighthouse precipice waiting for your ship to come in. You hear and understand these words are meant for you. And he says, we put the child in your care, and you've done such a fine job so far, but the hardest is still to come. The weapon needs to be stopped. And he kind of sighs, and it's the sigh of someone who has made, like, you can tell he feels like not guilty, but it's like we tried our best, right? Like we gave it our damnedest and did what we could, but maybe that wasn't good enough. And he looks to you, Eric, and he says, but you don't care about any of that. You just want to get your friend out safe, don't you?
I'm not even really sure what's happening right now. But
he chuckles.
I think I'd like to take Yanni and go home.
Well, that's the thing. And he looks back at the tree, and Piani's like obviously dead body, like kind of like hangs limply in the breeze. He says, there's always someone in the tree, Eric. Someone has to take her place.
I understand.
And I think that when you say I understand, Kia, you see a woman, and maybe to you she's an angel. But to Eric, you see the polished silver breastplate and fine long oaken spear of a Valkyrie. There's this soft pale hand on your shoulder, and her wings unfold. And in their unfolding, there's this sound of metal against itself and gears turning, and it's just like this beautiful, like, you know, that feeling you get when you've been building a machine and you finally go to install it and it fits just like perfectly, like it's exactly
symphony.
Yeah, everything is exactly right. That's the sound that you hear as her like wings unfold and her like feathers rub against each other. And she smiles at you, and you recognize, like, you see her, she has the face of your mother.
Nice.
And you look up and you realize that Piani is gone from the tree, that there's just like an empty woven noose hanging from the branch, and there's like a long, kind of crudely put together ladder up against the stout stump of the oak.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I go and I put a foot on the bottom rung of the ladder and I start to climb.
Sure. Yeah. You put your foot on the ladder and you start to climb, and Peony is standing there next to you, and she's holding in her hand like a silver knife, and she's still wearing the long white gown, and she says to you in a voice that like she speaks like Sigurdan. She says, "The well first, Eric," and puts the knife in your hand.
What do I need to do here?
Well,
is it my eye?
I think that's the thing. You look at her, and maybe you have that feeling. You're like, "What do I do?" And you look up, and Peony like brushes her hair to her face. She has this one like perfect silver eye and like the deep scar.
Yeah, I step back down. I grab the knife and I sort of like, and then I pause and I look up at the Valkyrie and I say, "Will I learn?"
And your mother, smiling, nods to you and doesn't say anything, but you have this feeling that, and you felt this before 1,000 times, Eric, working on a mathematical theorem or some model of physics, where you're like, that almost eureka moment where you're like, oh, I've got the answer. All I have to do is just like write these things down and then I'm done. And you have that sudden sense, your heart starts to pound in your chest, where you know like something profound is about to happen.
Yeah, I think I just sort of look down at the well and then just pull my eye out of its socket, throw it in the well.
Okay.
My eye is squinted shut, blood.
Sure. Yeah, we see your hand pressed to your face and like blood pouring between your fingers.
Yeah.
And you toss something meaty into the well. And there's a second of silence, just the wind howling, and then the sound of water as something heavy drops down into the water. And there's like a feeling of elation and calm, and like the pain from like wrenching your own eyeball out suddenly like ceases. And you look up at the tree and you can see the previous sort of storm clouds that, again, despite seeing Andoni, despite seeing Earth, all of that stuff, despite all that, these storm clouds have always been here. They start to part a little bit and we see beams of sunlight coming down through the cloud. And and you said you want to start to ascend the ladder?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So Kia, as Eric starts to climb the ladder, a girl who looks just like you, only with a silver eye and a different haircut, walks over, and she's got a bit of Eric's blood on her like gown. She walks over and looks at you, and the two of you kind of like stand staring at each other for a moment. Do you say anything? Do you do anything?
I think I say very simply, "It's you."
And she nods. Yeah, she nods and she puts her hand out, and it's still like a bit bloody from like taking the knife back, which she's dropped into the snow. She puts her hand out.
Yeah, I take it.
Okay. So as you take her hand, I think that Eric, the Valkyrie fits the noose around your neck, and suddenly like the ladder isn't there.
Yeah.
And what's the look on Eric's face before the world drops out from under him?
I think it's just like a grim acceptance of what he has to do. And I think it's like the most Viking that we've ever seen Eric. He's just got like blood pouring down into his thick Viking beard. Probably like his hair is no longer pulled back into a braid. It's like wild and flowing behind him, right? And it's just kind of grim, maybe just a little bit of pain, but also like that stoic Viking warrior. This is life and this is death and this is right.
Yeah, cool. So it's not as if the ladder is like kicked out, it's just not there. And I think the last thing that we see silhouetted against a flash of lightning is the gnarled tree, the well. Victor, Peony, and Kia are gone. There's all these huddled figures crowded around you on the hillside, and Eric's body just falls, and there's a snap as the rope like goes tight, and at the sound of the rope snapping, a crowd, like a group of ravens, burst up from the ground and like fly up into the sky, and one of them like obscures the camera, and we see a lot of the like destruction, all those shots that we saw before, run in reverse. So we see like the towers start to rebuild on Cabral. We see the university like building back up, all the fire like going out and sucking back into the earth. We see Kamna like come back together. And I think that for a brief second, like we see all of this kind of like visual mess. There's amidst the, like if you're watching the DVD and you pause and you like flip frame by frame, we see Mr. Sicarian outside the like out on the hull of the Harridan's Heart. We see Sicarian's wife reaching her ghostly hand out for him and like touching his fingers. We see Prosper walking down into Le Fantome's sanctum. We see a long staircase with a bloody like smear down one wall. And the very last thing that we see before everything goes to black, as all of this is like rewinding and the universe is restructuring itself, the last thing that we see is a guy wearing like kind of a ratty like denim baseball cap and like some overalls on some like ragged looking spaceport say, he's like, don't worry, Higgins, we'll get you off this planet. And he turns around and smiles. And instead of like a gun pointed at the back of his head, we just see Higgs kind of staring at him like blank-eyed. And then everything goes black. And then credits.
Nice.
There you go.
That's it.
Nice.
So yeah, if you didn't get the memo, or didn't catch that, Steven
GG.
is the one departing. I guess we should also say
Geoff,
that,
it was great playing with you, man.
yeah, Geoff, it was fantastic playing with you.
I don't know. I had to break somehow.
I guess the other thing too is we'll have a break from the main show for a little while.
Sometimes things are nice and clear. Other times they're not so much. But yeah, I think that like Eric's sacrifice will lead the way for whatever universe the Swan Song is to occupy next.
Yeah,
and I guess we'll have to come back to see what that looks like.
We'll probably fill the void though with
I'll
some.
have to wait a whole fucking week to find out what.
You're not getting anything out of me today. That's it. I'm done.
I mean,
that's all I got.
I don't think we'll do a proper episode
That's
next week.
great.
I think we're gonna do some Swan Song stories.
Steven, it's been an amazing 50
muted
episodes, bro.
Whoops.
Dude, hell yeah. More than that, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you for all of it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think the rest of us don't even need to do shout-outs. We'll just let Steven do the shout-outs and we'll call it a show.
Awesome.
So Steven,
All right, well,
go ahead.
So I guess you guys know who's leaving the show now. First things first, I've had an amazing time playing on Swan Song. And I'm not leaving any other shows on RollPlay. So, yeah. I see someone in chat already asking, why is Steven leaving? So I just want you guys to know it's my choice. And it has nothing to do with anything between me and the other cast members at all. It's not at all anything that's going on. It's just that this takes a lot of time. And it's great time, but it also keeps me up until midnight. So with these things and an excellent 50 episodes, I think it is time for me to say goodbye to Swan Song specifically, but never RollPlay, which is awesome and a fantastic part of my life. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll do some kind of a goodbye guys AMA over on the subreddit.
I would wait a couple days. So at least
we don't want to
wait till after the final episode goes out. It'll be on Sunday. No, it'll be Saturday. You can do it right after West Marches.
Sunday, I'll do something or other.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea. I like the AMA idea.
But this is awesome. It's one of the longest, most consistent, and most like clearly arced campaigns that I've ever had the pleasure to play in. and even rivaling the ones that I've run. So it was awesome. I will miss playing with Geoff and Wheat and JP, who I have been playing with since the very first time I played roleplay. And that is fucking amazing and awesome. And of course, I will miss being a player in Adam's games, who is a huge inspiration to me as a GM for everything that you just saw in this episode and all previous 49 episodes. I think that's about it. Follow me on the internet for my normal shout out stuff.
Thank you for everything you did, man.
Yeah, thanks for being a part of the show, man.
Absolutely.
Like you said, you're not done. You're still doing West March this Saturday, so
damn right.
You'll still be around. I was saying it earlier, but for whatever reason, I was muted to you guys. We'll probably take a hiatus from Swan Song, the proper show, for, I don't know, at least post-PAX. We'll probably do some Swan Song stories, some side episodes, maybe see what's going on with Sakarian's crew. Do something like that. Me and Adam need to really talk about it, and really the rest of the crew needs to talk about it and figure out where we're at. So, and I guess we can go ahead and say we do not actually have a replacement for Steven at this point in time. So it is still up in the air. We have a lot of people that we're considering and we're still thinking about, but no one's been chosen just yet. So
them are tough shoes to fill, man.
Yeah,
seriously,
it really is.
Fucking super high bar, Steven. Like honestly, I'm sure it's gonna be the first few episodes. Like, oh my fucking god! Like,
yeah. No, me and Adam have been talking about this for almost a month or two, and we don't have any idea who to get yet.
That's really hard.
It's really, really difficult. So we'll figure it out. We'll let you guys know as soon as we do. Or we'll announce that we know who it is, and then we'll later reveal it to you. So there you go.
I think there's a lot of excellent role players in the role play community.
We shall see.
But thank you.
I mean, we could grab Ryan, but who's going to write the scripts, you know? Like,
it's true.
He's very busy with that.
He's better at that.
Yeah, he's a better script writer. We already we don't need more ones on this show.
No, God.
We already ended the universe. He actually can't roll any worse.
That was so perfect.
You literally destroyed the entire universe. Good rolling.
I couldn't believe that.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. Awesome. But yeah, that'll do it for the show. Steven, thanks once again. And thanks everyone for watching Swan Song. We'll be back in due time, and we'll post some more information about the Swan Song story episodes when we know when they're gonna happen. So thanks everyone for watching. That'll do it for 50 episodes. We'll see you for the next 50.
Thank you, Steven.
Hey everybody.
And
bye.
and chat. I love you, chat.
There you go. All right, we're out. Bye-bye.
Bye. Peace.